So, right, we're 2 minutes past eight, 3 minutes past eight now, and a bunch of people have joined. I think we're expecting a few more, but they will join, I guess, as we go along. And we've got an hour or so this evening, and we've got loads to cover. So just to give some background to this, so when we decided to do this webinar, this was a few weeks ago. This was way before the current pandemic, and we all got stuck indoors with our families and children, and we finally kind of learned a little bit more about them, and had to interact with them a bit more. So this was before all that happened, but actually I was even thinking, should we keep going ahead with this webinar? And I thought actually it's the perfect time. So I've created my coaching practice from day one, using Facebook and using social media. It just made a lot of sense to me. And it was funny because a few years ago when I spoke at Steve Chandler's coaching school, and I did a bit of kind of story about who I am and what I do, the number one thing that people kept asking me about was, how are you using social media to get clients? And similarly, you and I mean, I didn't know you existed until very recently. And as I told you when I first interacted with you, I thought you were just a bit of a rude boy. But what I realized is you're also actually a wonderful coach, very successful. You've grown a coaching practice in a very, very short space of time. And the more I spoke to you about how you use social media, and in particular Instagram, was really, really different. I'd been put off Instagram a little bit because of the way that a few people told me that you use it and use it to get clients. It felt kind of manipulative. It didn't feel very in integrity. But the more I spoke to you, I realized that the way you use social media is very, very similar to how I use social media. There are, I mean, some differences. There's some nuances with different platforms, but in essence, the core of what you do and what I do is very, very similar. So I wanted to do this webinar, and a heads up, because I never do this, but as a heads up, Sachin and I will be offering something at the end in terms of a paid training, but you don't need to take that. There's no pressure to do it. You don't need to do it. If you just stay on the webinar, I hope you'll get a ton of value, and it will open up some new ideas and insights, and you can take all of that away and never see us again if you don't want to, right? But there is going to be something at the end for people who want to take that forward, and it's great because we can't take all 63 people who are on here at the moment. So for whoever that calls to, we'll do that. But I wanted to start off with, and Sachin and I were talking earlier, I want to start off with a little bit about your background, Sachin, because, I go on Facebook and you just see these ads, right? Like, create a 6-figure coaching practice, use funnels to boost your coaching practice. YouTube is the way to create clients. Instagram is the new way. Email lists, yes, it's all about email lists again. And it's like, I'm inundated with marketers trying to sell me ways to create clients. And in fact, you'd think this might not happen to me anymore. I, even in the last 6 months, have got direct messages of people who are marketers trying to sell me programs to create clients. I get accosted on LinkedIn by people constantly trying to sell me, how to create clients, which really puts me off. As soon as someone says that, it's like, all right, delete, ignore, not interested. And yet, so you're not, as far as I'm concerned, unless I've made a huge, terrible mistake and I'm going to regret the next, 53 minutes. I hope not. But I don't believe you're that kind of person. That you're a coach. You don't coach coaches. This is just, or very many coaches. Your business is working with people. So I wanted to just bring that out in terms of you're a real coach, like many people on here. You're not necessarily a marketer. You don't follow these 6 marketing steps, and very much like me, you're a coach first and foremost, and you've created a business around that. So um, let's just start with, how long have you been coaching for?
When you asked me this last time, I said properly since 2008, 17. So properly for me means like real sessions with people instead of giving advice or being the guy that tries to change people. So yeah, I took a course in 2017, and that's when I really started hitting my stride with real sessions.
Okay, and you know, this is but I've asked you, you're willing to share this, and I think it's important. Um, how financially successful are you in client creation? I mean, how much money are you making roughly from coaching?
Yeah, so last year was a great year. I made over 100K in sales. This year I'm on track to hit 150. Um, those numbers like sound really funny to me now because it was only in 2018 that I decided to go pro and take this full time. And back then I was just happy if I made like 2, 3 thousand pounds a month. But yeah, last year was a great year. I started working with some influencers. This year, just carrying on same strategy, and we're winning.
And how old are you?
I'm 27 years young, brother.
Okay, so I wanted to share this with everyone just to kind of give a background. You make me feel old. I'm normally the young kid on online with the people I interview. But so you're a young guy. You have been coaching properly for like 2 or 3 years, um, and you're making a very decent amount of money from coaching, and you're not doing it through your vast majority of business isn't coaching coaches.
No, so I started business coaching towards the end of 2018. A lot of friends I had were asking me, why are you posting stuff on social media all the time? And I just told a few people what I was doing, and it kind of just kind of evolved into people asking me to show them. And just yeah, I don't want to be the guy who coaches coaches. I really enjoy coaching business owners. Life coaching it's a real passion of mine. So yeah, not I don't really work with too many coaches.
Okay, so I wanted to just give that as a background in terms of who Sachin is, because I think you'll be unknown to most of my audience. I did put a post out on my Facebook group earlier about a little bit of your personal background, and I just finished watching that video today. If anyone hasn't seen it, I would highly recommend watching that. And we won't go into all of your story right now, but in essence, you at university were basically in a very 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 abusive, physically, sexually, emotionally abusive relationship, right?
Yeah, it was a weird time, but I look back on it now, and yeah, I wouldn't change anything because it sounds corny, but it's really helped me a lot in just being very cool now. I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, hey.
So if you haven't seen that video, you go onto my Facebook group and you comment there, or I'll send you the link, or send me an email after this, I'll send you the link. That's really inspiring. I mean, we could just do a whole webinar on your transformation around that, because I watched that video and I was like, you told me a bit of the story a few days ago at my immersion, but watching this video really kind of just, I sent it to a client to watch, and she said, like, I had my mouth open the whole time, watching the video, and it was so inspirational. So I wanted to give a bit of background that whilst you're a young guy, one, you're actually successful as a coach, um, and consistently, and two, in terms of where you are from a personal thing, you've gone through a lot of your own challenges and face your own demons, to kind of get where you are right now. because, you know, when I watched the video, I was like, okay, that kind of puts into perspective some of what I've gone through. And I really had a lot of respect for you, one for being willing to share it, and two for you know, obviously the transformation you've gone through to get to where you are today.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And yeah, it's I said this to you earlier, like I put that video out and I just kind of forgot about it. But yeah, to see it now, it's helping people, and to put things into perspective, I like it. That's the reason why I started sharing content online, was just I learned a lot in a really short period of time. And I just realized, yeah, I was given these experiences so that maybe other people could learn from it. That sounds like a cool narrative. Let's run with that.
Okay. Um, we want to make this interactive, so I've got a bunch of questions for you. I'm happy to take the whole webinar time, just you and I talking. I think that'll be really helpful. But I know one of the great things about being on a webinar live is that you guys get to ask questions. So we've got the chat function on the side. I've got it open. If at any point during this webinar you've got a question for either Sachin or myself, especially around creating clients via social media, please put it in the chat box so we can make this as relevant as possible to those of you who are on the webinar tonight. So I want to kind of just say that up front. Now, I've got a question for you, Sachin. We're going to talk about what you do and how you do it, but I think it's equally important to talk about what you don't do, right? And so, you know, one of the things I was taught around Instagram was, you know, you've got to get a bunch of followers, you know, you got to have people following you. And so I was taught, and I spoke to someone else and they were taught the same thing, that you go online, you find people who are, you know, have got a lot of followers, the kind of people you want to have, and then you follow all of their followers, and then slowly you unfollow them, right? And that always felt like quite manipulative to me. I didn't like doing that. And when I told you, again, you laughed and you know, said, why would you do that? So what don't you do? And I guess what have you learned that kind of
Yeah.
maybe some of your mistakes?
Okay, so just to touch on that briefly, the reason I don't do that is that's not why I became a coach. I became a coach because I really wanted to assist people's transformation and growth, and wanted to watch people really grow it and watch them lives change. And me be a part of that process feels like a privilege. Now, that intention doesn't sound like it has anything to do with follow, unfollow, and let's play a little game of cat and mouse. I'm not 15, okay? I'm not playing a popularity contest. I'm not trying to be the prettiest girl or boy in the boy band or whatever. So that's why that doesn't really make sense to me. And also, I mean, people work, I work with influencers. They work really hard to build these audiences. If you're going in there and trying to like siphon people out and, oh, let me see who I can get. I mean, yeah, it feels a bit, I don't know if this is the right word, but it just feels a bit dirty. Okay, so what I did in the beginning, which no one needs to do, is I was posting 10 times a day on Instagram. I was posting, okay, so this is my, in 2017, no, 2015, I used to work in a bank, and then I had this realization around what I was doing wasn't right for me. And I took a big pay cut, and I just went to work in an office doing admin work. But I had a lot of mental free time, so I would be writing on my phone the content that I was going to post later. So it started off with a daily blog. Once a day, 500 words, around 11 a.m., I'd post it on my first break. It's not, I think everyone here could manage that, but you don't need to. The second thing I did was I was taking videos that I'd made and I was cutting up clips, like 30 seconds to a minute, and posting them on Instagram 5 to 10 times a day. No one needs to do that. It doesn't really work, so I wouldn't advise it. And the other thing I was doing was I was posting podcasts twice a week. So I think Wednesdays and Saturdays I was posting my episodes. No one needs to do that either, but I just loved having conversations with people. I still do. I do my podcast now, but it's one episode a week. So those are the things I started off doing that you don't need to do now. But one thing that a lot of people will say you need to do, you don't need to have a lot of followers. If you look at my page, I've been doing it for a few years. That's why the amount of followers are there. But it's a vanity metric. It doesn't mean anything. You don't need to have 100. I know people who have 90,000 followers, but still work a full-time job and don't understand how to convert that into a business. So following is really not important, especially if you're a coach. The main thing that I think people are doing wrong is trying to attract an audience. I mean, really and truly, you don't need that. The main thing is talk to people. Yeah, the way I look at social media, it's like if an owner of a clothing store came to you and said, "Hey, dude, sales aren't great," and you observed their storefront, I look at it like my Instagram page is my clothing storefront. I post something, so it's like a T-shirt that I'm advertising outside, and some guy or some girl might walk past and point at it and say, "Hey, I like that." Now, me as the business owner, doesn't it make sense for me to go outside and say, "Hey, I might have your size," or "Hey, would you like to see this in another color?" If they comment when they walk past and they point at the T-shirt, "Oh, that would look good on my friend Karen," I, as the business owner, should go outside and follow that up. And then the other thing is, like, people who like, comment, follow, share, they are coming past your store and wanting more of what you have to offer. So I just look at Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and your podcast as it's a virtual business card. So it's giving people the opportunity to look into your store before they consider buying something. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I really love that. And I wanted to kind of, connect what you do with what I do. So I wrote down, you said followers are not important, talk to people, right? And that's exactly what I've been doing on Facebook. So when I started coaching, I had I had just my friends on Facebook. I had no one else. And my initial first few clients came from that group, and from groups I was in, it was kind of like wherever I am, wherever I was hanging out, I was just having conversation, which was on social media. I was having conversations with those people. And I see it now. Like I saw one coach who's got like 1 million followers on his Facebook page, and I look at that, and there's so much work that goes into creating these huge followings. And I remember what I was told was, hey, if you have a big following, then it's much easier to create clients. And one thing that I found is that people don't tell you is to create a huge following takes time and effort. And I remember my wife and I went to Thailand a year and a half ago, and we randomly bumped into this woman, and she was an Instagram influencer, right? And and I said to her, just out of curiosity, how long do you spend on Insta? She goes, well, I try and limit myself to 3 hours a day, but you know what? Sometimes it goes beyond that. And then on top of that, she was traveling around the world. She was editing photos. She was, really doing a lot of research on where to go. It was pretty much a full-time job for her to grow her Instagram. So, and what I find is that coaches, when they kind of get into this popularity contest that you talk about, they don't have any time left to have deep conversations with people, which is the irony, which was the whole point of doing this in the first place. And I love what you said, because you don't need to do that. You really don't.
I worked with a well-known YouTuber last year, and just got a massive insight into some of the burdens that accompany having a huge audience. And one of those was people are asking me for stuff that I don't really want to give them. And so I don't want to rely on my ad revenue. I don't want to rely on sponsorships. I want to have my own business that I'm in control of, that allows me to create the income that I want. And when I worked with her, with the boundaries that you put in place with your audience are really important. I don't think anyone who really wants to run a full-time coaching business wants to have to deal with that stuff. I don't know about you, but I definitely don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve Chandler sent me a really great article recently. So I'm going to start writing this down, because there's a Sachin video, right? And then there's this article, right? So again, if people want this, just message me if you want this article, where I think was it Seth Godin or Tim Ferriss or something? I think it might have been Tim Ferriss. And he wrote about the downside of being famous online, right? And there's so many things that if you become famous online, like online famous, that are really like, he's had to deal with stalkers, he's had to get lawyers involved in stuff. I mean, there, there are a lot of people who assume, okay, if I get online famous, if I become like Jay Shetty, right, and everyone knows who I am and they follow me, or I'm like Tony Robbins or something like that, then um, that's all I need to grow in business. And there are serious downsides to that, very just practical downsides, like some of the things you spoke about, but sometimes even more sinister than that. And so it's just something to be mindful of. And the great thing is you don't need, like you're saying, you don't need to be famous. You don't even need to have huge followings online to create clients. They're two very different things.
100%, man. And another, sorry to cut you off, but another thing is, one of my clients is a yoga influencer. So someone who their whole thing is yoga and posting yoga pictures. Females posting those kinds of pictures get bombarded with silly things, and I don't want to go into it, but I'm sure everyone can imagine. And that's I don't know about you, but that's not the kind of game that I want to play. That's not the territory that I want to walk into.
It's something I have to deal with all the time on my content. I get such, you would be surprised at the 3 principal coaching community from the kind of stuff I get sent, Sachin, and I have to remind people I'm more than just my body. So I can understand Stuart saying sorry for those, Kush.
Yeah, I can imagine what Stuart's sending you, but let's not go there. Let's save that for another time.
We've got a question from Marina. So we'll get into a couple of questions. I know otherwise you and I will carry on talking forever. Did you have guests on your podcast? And if so, who were they and how would you get them to become guests? I'd like to do a podcast and I've wanted to for a long time.
Yeah, so I started off with guests, and then as I became more comfortable on camera, here's another fun fact for you. No one needs to do this, by the way. I was really scared about posting YouTube videos because the first video I made, I showed my brother and he said, "Do you want honest feedback?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You look like a hostage who's making a ransom video." When they're reading off the little script, like, if you don't give the money, they're gonna kill me. And I was like, damn, I'm trying to do something positive and uplifting. Maybe I need practice. So I made 300 YouTube videos on my own practice before I posted my first one. I don't think anyone needs to do that, but I would suggest, like, if you're not comfortable on camera, just make some practice videos. That's why I started off with guests, because I thought, I'm a coach anyway, so why not have conversations? That's what I'm good at. So then I can just start posting those recorded conversations. So yes, I started off with guests, and then I started doing my own solo episodes. And the other part of the question was, how would you get them to become guests? Literally, this is the simplest thing ever. Just email people and ask them. That's it. And keep the email brief. Like, keep it like a 30-second or 1-minute read, and include one link to check out your stuff.
I want to so reiterate everything that you said. When I started out producing content, a lot of people probably know on here, I did my relationship series podcast, and people ask me, how did you get all these wonderful guests on your podcast? And I did the same thing. I interviewed guests because it was an excuse for me to get going. I wanted to talk to them. I wanted to learn from them. And now I'm much more comfortable doing my own content, but it was a great way to start. And people said, how did you get them to be on your show? How did you get Dick and Bettinger and like George Pransky and whatever? And I said, look, it's a secret. I emailed them, right? Don't go around telling everyone, but it's my little secret. I emailed them. And it's like, that's it. I just asked. And I think one thing that there's a lot of things I've had to learn. And one of the things that I learned many years ago is that if you want something, at least be prepared to have someone say no. And I've had people say no. I've had people who said no, and that's fine. I had people say no to give testimonials in my book. It's fine. They're off my Christmas card list now. It was okay. But it's about just being willing to ask. So I totally support what you say, and I also agree with you. I didn't wait. I went in, and my first podcast, I just recorded it, put it online. I really cringe whenever I listen to the early episodes of my relationship series. And I think one thing maybe we can both agree on is never ask for feedback from your family, because when I did my podcast, I'd get wonderful feedback from around the world. I'd have people telling me how, it saved their marriage, the podcast, changed their life. They were in tears. And then my family would say, you keep saying and ah, and you keep using the same word interesting in every episode. Why don't you pick a new analogy? And my dad very sincerely said to me, why don't you have some different words that you can use and stick it in front of the computer so you don't keep saying, that's really interesting, right? Which really obviously helped me get out of my head and be more present. So don't ask your family for feedback. Just start. Just get out there. Just do it. I think we both agree with that.
100%, bro. We got loads of questions. I'm very excited.
Yeah, Franco Trainee Yoda, wonderful name, says, if you were starting from scratch today, Sachin, what would you do authentically to grow your followers? I don't think he means help them grow. I think he means as in grow the number of followers.
Yeah, growing the audience. I wouldn't really do that. If this is for everyone, right? If you're starting off from scratch, create an Instagram page and just start posting once a day, like one post every day, just consistent. Let's say just pick an arbitrary time. Let's say 6 p.m. UK time, and you're gonna post once a day, right? And just post something that's on your mind. It could be a short video. It could be a quote, whatever. And I write my posts when I'm on the train, when I'm sitting down doing nothing, stroking my dogs, watching a bit of TV. Maybe I'm just listening to some music.
On the toilet, on the toilet. You've done it when you're on the toilet, haven't you?
Anyway, let's keep this professional. Let's not divulge into unnecessary details. So yeah, just post once a day and then just talk to people who interact with your content. And make sure if it's Instagram, like just use the features, play around with it. If it's YouTube, I mean, YouTube, the reason I don't think it's the best is because it's an all anonymous interaction, and you can't have one-on-one engagement with people. So I prefer Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. These platforms you can have direct one-on-one engagement. But yeah, I would never focus on growing an audience unless you have goals like I want to have a top listened to podcast or whatever. So it's not really important.
Yeah, and I would say those goals don't necessarily line up with also having a successful coaching practice. They're often different directions. So if you want to have a top 10 podcast, there's so much time and effort and energy that goes into it. You often don't have enough time left to create clients, in my experience.
Yeah, I will share something real quick. One of my friends, I'm not going to say who it is, but one of my friends has a top 10 podcast in the whole world, but he still has a full-time job and he doesn't have any sponsors, doesn't make any money from the channel, and doesn't make any money from having a podcast. He's had some great guests, like really high-profile guests, no income from it.
Yeah, there's so many examples of that, and I think it's really important, to distinguish between being popular online and actually making money as coaches online.
100%.
I want to add something that, guys, if you're really interested, if you like reading, there's a book I want to recommend to all of you, in support of Franco's question, which is Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. Brilliant book. I recommend it to you as well, Sachin, if you haven't read it. And in the book, he talks about, when I read it, I realized a lot of what he was talking about was what I was doing online and was really helpful. So one thing he says is that everyone tries to kind of show the finished article, right? So we see people posting on social media and like, here's me, getting this award for being the coach of the year. Here's me winning this. Here's me here's my contract for my first 100 grand client, right? All this stuff. And we think that in order to post online, we need to have these wonderful outcomes, right, on social media. And what Austin Kleon kind of points to is you can show your journey, right? So, if you've watched something, so we all watch stuff. If you watch something online that you really like, share it with people. Hey, I just watched this great video or this great TEDx talk on blah, blah, blah. If you're if you'd like to check it out, just comment below, right? Or whenever I read a great book, I'll either post a picture of the book, or I'll post a little bit from inside the book and say, this is a great little chapter from Steve Chandler's book, blah, blah, blah. And it's like showing people behind the scenes what you're learning. And the great thing for coaches is that we're always learning something. We're always reading something. We're always watching something. We're always listening to something. And you can just post your journey. And I think knowing what I know now, if I went back in time to 2012 when I started coaching, I would have posted much more regularly just about what I was doing. Hey, this is my first day of coach training. And I'd take a little picture. I'd write like, here's what I learned from my first weekend of coach training. These are some interesting concepts. Just spoke to my first coaching client today. Loved the experience. If anybody else would like coaching, reach out to me, right? And I would have just been a lot more open about just what I was doing along the journey, as opposed to only posting when I think, oh, I've got something like a great outcome to share.
Yeah, 100%. It comes down to that, like walking your talk, right? Like not everything you post has to be polished. That's why I love the story feature on Instagram and Facebook. I'm just showing you behind the scenes. Like not every day is paradise. Sometimes, like, okay, gruesome example. I stepped in one of my dog's poo the other day, and it just taught me something about letting it go, and just shared I was angry first, and then I talked about what I'd learned. It can be as simple as that. If you've got children, those children are teaching you more than all of your coaching trainings and all that put together. I don't have kids, but I've seen my friends who are parents grow so much, and just sharing those insights can be magical.
Absolutely. And one of the things that it does is that, like coaching, you've probably everyone's heard me say this a bunch of times, coaching is a relationship business. So, social media is an excuse for people to build a relationship with you. And it's like, can you build a relationship with someone who's always just showing you the best parts of them? We don't have the deepest relationship. I think I felt so connected to you, Sachin, when I watched your video, not because it was showing, a wonderful side to you, like you were sharing some of your deepest, darkest, past. And I felt so much more connected to you from watching that. And so it's the same thing as a coach. I remember having a disagreement when I was being interviewed once with someone who's watching around, like, oh, you need to be an authority, you need to be an expert, you need to be impressive. That's what the marketers tell us. And actually, it doesn't work that well to create coaching clients. It distances us from clients. People want to know that you're a real person, because they can be, if they're impressed by you, that doesn't mean they will hire you. I'm not going to hire the person that's the most impressive. I'm going to hire someone who can really help me. And I will feel someone who can help me as someone who's been going through their own journey too.
Yeah, man. Really important distinction to make.
So Lisa Hopper says, hi Sachin, do you spend the majority of your time coaching business owners how to use Instagram and social media to grow their businesses, or do you coach on everything?
Yeah, I don't, the business coaching that I do is not about how to grow, like how to use Instagram or anything social media. Like one of my clients is a influencer. I'm not going to teach her how to grow her Instagram, but I'm going to coach her so that she can take what she's doing now to the next level, and so she can create what she wants. Like Steve says this all the time: coach the person and not the business, and the business will grow. And I just love that. Like that's the ethos I take into business coaching. But yeah, some of the okay, I'll give you an example. One of my clients at the moment is a coach. We started working together in November. After the first 3 months of us working together, he was already putting content out on Instagram. He made 50K in sales after the first 3 months of us working together. And I didn't really I didn't really tell him, I'll start doing these things differently on what you post. It was literally just, let's go and talk to loads of people and let's qualify them, and then let's have conversations. And that's why he made way more money. He was making about $1,000 a month before we started working together, and now he's making a lot more. So, but again, with him, it's been a lot of straight up coaching. It's very little like nitty gritty strategy stuff that had to be done. He was already making content. So yeah, short answer is I coach on everything.
And do you have any examples of you've coached people who have got nothing to do with business? Have you done any pure life coaching as well?
Yeah, so I have a group program, and it's all about creating a stronger relationship with yourself. That's what helped me get rid of a lot of the illnesses I had in my mind. I have about 10 people in the group right now, and that's just life coaching. I have a few business owners in there, but it's not like, oh, hey guys, I'm going to teach you how to grow a coaching practice or anything like that. Some of them are aspiring to be coaches, great, but I don't make my group about that. This is straight up, you're deepening your understanding of your relationship with yourself, because that's the relationship you have with everything and everyone in your life.
So here's a nice, quick, easy question from Suzanne. There are so many Sachin Sharmas on Instagram. What is his profile name?
It's Spoon of Consciousness. I think Raven was kind enough to put it in the chat here. Thank you, Raven.
Wonderful. Ehsan's asking, how can I find a client on Facebook right now?
Oh, great question. So make a post, right? Like talk about something that's important to you. If I can, no, let me see if I can see you on the, oh, okay, maybe I'm doing this wrong. I don't know who you are. I don't know anything about you. I've never.
Ehsan Gavimi, he's a coach. He's from Scotland. He's a lovely guy. I've met him. He's been coaching for a little while. He's got a few coaching clients. So I don't know if you need more than that.
Okay, cool. So bring up a client story, right? And not in the sense of like, I coached this person and this is how great I am. You should book a call with me. But just use an example. Tell a story. One day I met Jonathan. Jonathan had these issues, or Jonathan wasn't very confident. Jonathan couldn't talk to women. We talked, and when we talked, we realized that he wasn't able to talk to women because he created this story around how he's not good enough. Maybe he doesn't deserve it. Maybe she's too attractive. I'm using my own example here. I used to have this problem. I couldn't talk to anyone, not just women, but use a story, right? Tell a story, because people buy stories, not services, and people buy people, not products. So just tell stories. And then at the end of the story, say, look, if you can relate to this, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Or you don't even have to give an invitation. Just leave it as that. Share a story, and I hope this helps you on your journey, whatever it is. People are going to comment. Go and talk to those people. Like someone might like it. Hey, Frank, thanks for liking my post. I really appreciate it. What did you get from the story that I shared? And it's as simple as that. Just have conversations with people. And to find a client, I don't really look at it as finding or getting or attracting. I just create clients, like give someone an experience of coaching, and that's how you create them as a client. Because no one wakes up thinking, I need to hire Sachin or Ankush to help me with something. They just wake up knowing I'm having a hard time looking women in the eye. What do I do about that?
Yeah, I love that, and I want to kind of build on something that you said. Is like, I'll give an analogy of online dating, which I don't do anymore because my wife doesn't like it. But many years ago, when I was doing online dating, I was kind of creating this profile and I was doing all this stuff, and I wasn't going on any dates, and I was spending a lot of time on it. And then I read this ebook about online dating, and it said, one of the things that really hit me was the purpose of online dating is to actually go on dates. Don't forget that. And it really sounds so simple, but it totally changed my approach to online dating. And so when I realized I can have the most wonderful profile, but actually if the purpose of this platform is for me to get dates, it makes sense for me to message people that I'm interested in going dates with. And I don't need to spend ages messaging them. Like, the purpose of getting on there is to get into a conversation, on a message conversation. The message conversation is to get them on the phone, and on the phone is to meet them in real life if I like them. And at any point, either of us can say, no, we don't want to take this further. But that changed, and my kind of, I tried to be really funny and really attractive and all this sort of stuff, and then I just dropped all of that, and just, if someone replied back to me, I went very quickly, hey, would you like to talk? This is my phone number. And they're like, whoa, you're very direct. I'm like, yeah, but it led to me actually having dates. And social media, if you're looking at this as a hobby, that's different. But if you're looking at this as a professional coach and you're doing this as a profession where people actually pay you, then remember the purpose of social media, and we said this before, isn't to get followers, isn't to look good, isn't, to get a pat on the back. It's actually to create clients. And the way we create clients is by having conversations. So I would say to you, Asan, if you've been posting stuff, and I know you do post, like if your last post got 15 likes on it, for example, if you reach out and just say to all those 15 people, thank you for liking my post, how are you doing? Like, it doesn't need to be complicated. Well, now you're in a conversation. Now, some of them won't reply. That's fine. Some are like, yeah, I'm good, Asan, see you later, right? That's fine. But maybe one of them might turn around and say, Asan, thanks for reaching out. I'm really struggling right now. And you will know there's an opportunity here to serve that person, right? And whether that's through a conversation or sending them something. And if you just do that all day, every day, you will have more clients than you can handle. And I say this to coaches all the time, that if you start really showing up in this way from service, you don't have this question of who do I talk to? It becomes more of a question of how do I filter all of the potential people that I could be talking to.
That's 100%. Hit the nail on the head, man.
So Marky Mark said, can you describe your approach, Sachin, so we can understand how a post generates a client? I think I've spoken about mine. I'd love to hear how you do that on Instagram.
A post never generates a client. Nothing generates a client. There's no machine. Like, you don't crank.
I love that.
I hope that didn't sound rude to you, Marky Mark, but I just wanted to make that distinction for you. Post stuff, okay, so for example, I posted something on Instagram before we started the webinar. Then I turned my phone on airplane mode because we're here. Don't want to be checking my phone because it's kind of rude and it will distract me. When we finished, I'm going to have a bunch of likes, maybe some comments, and maybe some follows. I'm just going to talk to people and say, yo, thanks for checking out the post, or, reply to someone's story. Thanks for sharing my post, whatever it is. And then ask questions. So it might start off with, what's your biggest challenge right now? What are you working on this year? Some people are going to say, oh, no, that's salesy, leave me alone. Fair play. There's a lot of people trying to sell us stuff these days. And if you get a message from a random person you've never met before, even if you're following them, or even if you like your content, some people are going to be put off. Some people are going to be like, yeah, it was great, thanks. Like you said. And then some people are going to be like, hey, man, that really spoke to me. Thank you for saying that. Cool, let's progress this conversation. And if you're suitable, I'll invite you to have a coaching conversation with me.
Camille says, what is your method of client outreach on Facebook or Instagram? I think that's pretty much what we're talking about. It's really not doing random, scattergun approach. It's about, interacting with people who are already interacting with your content online. Because then, why go out? I mean, there are people, it doesn't matter what Sachin and I are charging or how much money we're making. If there are some people we spoke to, would you like to have a conversation? Forget for money, they wouldn't be bothered. They're not interested in what we have to say. So like Sachin says, when you put stuff out, then it's kind of pre-selecting, because some people resonate, some people won't. So if people are liking it and commenting on your stuff, then automatically they're in a position where they're much more likely to want to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, and Camille's already doing some cool stuff on Instagram. We've spoken a few times. I think, like, obviously we're going to do a training on this, but this, if you just take the basic principles for free that you get from here, you can run a mile with them.
Yeah, Joseph's saying he doesn't ask for feedback from his wife. Charlie saying, but does having a podcast YouTube channel get clients? Because I haven't found that to be the case. Am I missing something?
No, it doesn't, because it's all anonymous interaction. Unless you're very, like you said this in the immersion, be a laser, not a lamp. A podcast and a YouTube channel is a lamp. It's emitting a wide spectrum of light. But you've got to have something for people to tangibly contact you. YouTube channel, great. Talk to me on Instagram. Podcast, talk to me on Instagram. Email me, DM me, talk to me on Facebook. Have a method for someone to follow up with you. Because a podcast, here's an interesting fact for everyone. The average household listener, sorry, I already ruined it. The average listener of a podcast has a household, am I saying this right? Yeah, the average listener of a podcast has a household income of around about $70,000 US. Now, take that comparison to the average Instagram user has a household income roughly of about 30,000. This study was done last year in 2019. So me as a business owner, I've got to think to myself, yo, people are looking for podcasts to listen to. They're not just stumbling across it, like, oh, that was nice. They're looking with intent. I'd like to listen to a personal growth podcast or something of that nature. Now, if you can show up where someone's looking for it, it's like when I go to Tesco, I'm looking for the avocados. I'm not interested in cereal. So I'm not going to, even if it's the greatest cereal in the world, I don't care. I want avocados. I don't even know if that made sense, but I like the analogy.
Well, maybe one day you'll get avocado cereal and then your life will be complete. But I totally agree with you that, when I did my podcast, I used to tell people this all the time because my business was growing at the same time. And a lot of people assumed it was because of my podcast because it was great content. And I used to tell people, I've got no clients from my podcast because there was no way of people being able to engage with me directly. So what I would say to people is on social media, use the platform that you enjoy the most. That's so important. And then have that, like you say, have some way that they can interact with you, right? Which I was really bad at the beginning. And then later on in my podcast, I just started having a little thing at the end where I said, hey guys, if you like this episode, send me an email. I would really appreciate the feedback. And just having that little message at the end of the podcast had some people start interacting with me. But when I didn't, no one did. People are like, oh, that's a nice podcast, and that's it. And they go on with their day. And that's wonderful if I'm doing it as a hobby. But if I would like to create clients from some of this activity that I'm doing, and why not if you're a business owner, then we want to start getting direct interaction with people. Billy said, yesterday I messaged people in the afternoon for lives on Facebook, and by this morning I had 15 booked in. Just ask. So that's Billy's going to be doing some interviews. Interesting, brilliant. Yes. Okay, Lizzie says, a question for Ankush. How did you get into coaching and how did you build your clientele? So if I answered that question, I would be on here for a very long time. So I'll try and give you the high level response to that. I did a lot of personal growth work. I started out in personal development in 2001, and it was my hobby for a very long time. And then in 2012, I had an insight when I was cooking, and I had this eureka moment. You know what? I should be a coach. And at the time, I had been looking for a while to have a career change, and I was looking at moving abroad, changing careers, and nothing really felt right. And I'd been thinking about this for a couple of years. And one day when I'm cooking, I got this inspiration. And then 10 days later, I'd signed up for a year-long coach training, and I was just sucked in. And it's just been, step by step over the last 7.5 years. And what I will say is the thing that really helped me build the number of clients and my revenue was when I started working with my own coach. And one thing, the last webinar I did, I said that, and I got a few people come back and said, well, I hired a coach and it didn't work. And what I say is, look, just do your homework, right? There are a lot of people out there calling themselves coaches who are not coaches. There are people out calling themselves coaches, but they're actually marketers. So I would say when you go to hire your own coach, really spend some time with them. Good coaches will allow you to have some time, if you're sincere, for you to both work out if you're a good fit. So don't do it on a wish or a whim. Don't go around spending a ton of money with someone if you're not sure that they can help you. Have some time with them. If they've got content, if they've got stuff you can buy or listen to, get a feel for a coach. It's a really big decision. And I took many months before I decided to hire my own coach, back 5.5 years ago. So, there were a number of things that I did. I dove deeply into the 3 principles. I did coach training. I got mentored. I tested a lot of stuff. I tried a lot of stuff out, and I got coached. So that's a very, very, very short answer to what could be a very, very long answer. Anka has said, I found my podcast has helped me build amazing relationships that got me clients, sometimes directly, often via being invited on someone else's show. That's a really great way to do it. Famous guests aren't ideal unless they're your ideal clients or can and want to get in touch with them. Really, really great point, Anka.
However, I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here.
Oh dear, here we go.
I like to be a prickly pear sometimes. I'm not here to be your friend. Yeah, I don't agree with the last bit unless they're your ideal clients. Look, I love coaching people who I find inspiring. Some of them are famous. You know, I've coached a news presenter. I've coached someone who does sports presenting. I've coached people who are really interesting, you know, have great missions. They didn't want me to contact them. They didn't even have a clue who I was. I just talked to them. And then I got in touch with them. We did a great podcast episode together. And then we moved naturally after having a few conversations into working together. So I would just say, put it out there, ask and see what happens.
So Alfredo's got an it's really interesting because Sachin keeps repeating, you don't have to do that. So this is, I guess, earlier on the conversation stuff you did that didn't you need to, but he points to consistency. I'm curious because a friend he just mentioned with a podcast seems consistent in creating and publishing content. What's the difference? He says he is doing wrong if Sachin can share. So I think this is your friend who's got the top 10 podcasts. What in your mind would you say your friend is doing wrong without making income from it?
I feel bad saying it, but it's just not operating it like a business. It's like a hobby. And it's like, oh yeah, you know what? It's a good example, right? It's like, let's say you sell oranges, right? But you see people who like oranges and you're like, hey guys, have some oranges, but you never sell them. You're just giving oranges and you're talking about oranges. You're saying how great they are, vitamin C and all sorts. But nothing really comes from it. You're not charging. You're not creating a product. You're just pleasing people. You're not serving them. And I love to use that distinction because I learned something about that. I'm learning about that all the damn time. But on a real like distinct or succinct point, it's just not. He hasn't got a business behind it. It's just a nice podcast that I like to do. And I even asked him recently. You know, he's smashing out content like it's going out of style. Do you have something to offer off the back of it? And he said, no, you know, at these times, I think everyone just needs some good vibes. And I was like, okay, then.
I think, you know, one thing I want to add to that, Sachin, is what I find is that people, they follow this strategy of wishing and hoping, right? And I say that because that's the strategy I had. If I put enough content out on social media, fingers crossed, someone's going to message me and say, Ankush, you're amazing. Where can I send the check to? And it's the strategy of wishing and hoping. And it's just not a very good strategy. Now, you can build a really great following with that. You can have a lot of people who admire you. You can have a lot of people who are really thankful for the stuff. You can get lots of lovely feedback, but it's not going to create coaching clients. And if you don't want to create coaching clients, that's absolutely fine. No one's telling you to do that. But if you would like to create coaching clients, then like it's just common sense when you think about it. We need to at least let them know that they can do that. And you know, something that I look back and it's quite amusing now when I look at my my relationship series podcast, which again, a lot of people liked, get a lot of feedback. I still get feedback. Some of them have had thousands of views. I think you can't really tell from the podcast that I actually used to coach. Like I was almost like trying to hide it or not make it too obvious. But actually it would have really helped people if I said, hey, I also help clients with relationship issues. If you like this podcast and you want some coaching, I can do that. Please email me, right? No one has to do it, but it's kind of like the bare minimum of saying, well, I sell something and you can buy it.
Yeah.
Linda Yim said, Ankush's journey in his book, Sweet Sharing, lovely to read. Shout out to myself. Thank you, Linda.
Got a lot of these floating around my office at the moment.
I didn't realize the book floats, but that's great.
Only if you're enlightened, isn't it?
When it shows that you are human and having normal experiences, it's the Me Too experience of a journey. Okay. When did you start a business page as a coach? Because it probably wouldn't be efficient. Is it good to post these snippets on your personal page? So on Facebook, yeah, absolutely. I found on Facebook that posting things on my personal page was far more effective than on a business page, because Facebook likes to make you pay to have things on a business page. And it also feels a little bit further. When I interact with someone on a business page, I don't feel closer to them relationship wise than when I'm interacting with them on a personal page. And this is a relationship business, right? You know, I always have that in mind.
Linda also said, what if you only get a few or zero comments from an IG post? Yeah, that's Instagram for those who might not be aware. Can you share how to increase engagement in a post? So this is like super technical that might not help so many people. So I'll give it really like brief overview kind of answer. Go to the hashtags that you've been posting under, then click on them and you'll be brought to the page. Then it will say top and most recent. Click on most recent and go through the most recent section and start commenting on other people's stuff, but not this random emojis and, hey, great post, man, but real insightful stuff. If the post hits you where you live, and that's one of my sayings, oh, my connection cracked out for a second. If the post hits you where you live, then talk about it. Hey, Karen, thank you for sharing this. That dog meme really spoke to me, and you know, I'll never look at golden retrievers in the same way again. Wow. Great. Like, that's where you need to come from, not this generic copy and paste BS. That stands for belief systems. I'm not swearing, Ankush. So yeah, that's one of the things. I mean, we could spend a whole webinar on that, but we won't.
Yeah. And I'll also say that, again, if you haven't checked out the video that Sachin made, that is just, and I will rate you, because you're so much honesty, so much authenticity, so much realness in that video, that that's what has people engage with you. People don't want to engage with generic stuff. It's like, it's just about being real. So Zainab, how does not allow labeling to get in the way business coaching, life coaching, transformational coaching?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think the question is like, how does one not allow labeling to get in the way? So, you know, I don't think, I put on my Instagram, it says I'm a business wizard. I don't think it's important for you to, no one knows what a transformational coach is. And all of my clients have, like, okay, all of my clients except one have ever hired a business coach. Wait, have never hired a business coach. So, like, no one cares what your title is. It's like if you go to a grandmaster cheese producer, how is that different from grand wizard cheese producer? I don't know, but I'll tell you the difference. Yeah, the cheese will be different in both locations, right? And that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with my experience. How is Ferrari different from Lamborghini? Well, you dress the car up. I don't know anything about cars, so I'm kind of out of my depth with this, but you test drive it and you find out.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to spend so much time worrying about what to call myself, until I realized it really doesn't matter, because coaching is an experience, and even coaching with the same coach 2 years later can be a very different experience. So 100%. It's not about finding the perfect name. You know, when people say to me, well, what do you do? I'm like, well, some people call me a life coach. Some people call me a business consultant. Some people call me a pain in the ass. You know, how can I help you? Right? It doesn't matter.
Oh my God, man.
Question from Bear. Ankush, do you market on Facebook just to your friends? Almost all of my friends are already coaches of some sort. LOL. I can see offering marketing coaching to coach on Facebook because a lot of them feel they need it, but they're not generally looking for personal coaching. So here's the thing. When you start posting content, and I actually think Instagram is better than Facebook for this, but when I started posting, I had a certain number of friends. Over time, I make all my posts and content public. And when I post stuff and people comment on it, their friends see it, right? So over time, my number of friends on Facebook has like tripled or quadrupled, right? Because again, like Sachin said, it's like you're posting kind of, here's what I'm seeing, here's what I'm about, here's what's useful, here's a great book I read, here's my thoughts of the day, here's whatever, and people will resonate with that, right? And I'm pretty sure, you know, like I have a lot of friends, Facebook friends who are coaches. but there are also loads who aren't. And I've been surprised as I've been posting the kind of people who reach out to me. I've had family members, distant family members, school friends, you know, anyone and everyone who are on my friends list who might have been watching, might have been reading, comment, they'll reach out. You know, sometimes they'll be looking at stuff for years and never comment, and then they'll reach out. So it's kind of just like you say, being consistent, putting stuff out there. You don't need to do 100 things a day, but the more honest and open you are, you'll be amazed. And you say your friends aren't generally looking for personal coaching. Most people are not. And like Sachin said, you know, this is about creating clients, because most people aren't looking to hire a coach. But when they experience what it is that we do, then they think, oh, maybe I want that. And it's the same, by the way, with like, you know, when the first iPhone came out, right? No one said, oh, I need a phone like that, but they brought something out. People experienced it, like, oh, I really want that. And it became, you know, the best selling phone, or one of the best selling phone in the biggest company in the world. So it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I like that, man.
Joseph's asking, how many hours a day do you spend engaging potential clients?
30 minutes. Just 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, 10 minutes in the evening. Can be more, but that's what's manageable for me right now. But if you really want to like get your lead generation up like dramatically, be on it all day. Like Steve said, he did the little captain's log thing of hours you've spent in client creation. That was when I asked him, hey, when shall I start the clock? And because I could do 8 hours of lead generation if I really wanted to, but I'm not in that place in my business anymore. But in the beginning, if you want to go there, great, have at it.
Yeah, second that. And I just do it as and when. I think if you spend a couple of hours a week, you know, you can get a lot of conversation set up. And if you're not, then I would suggest you speak to your coach and look at what you're doing, because there might be some more, you know, technical bits of the language you're using and how you're showing up. But as a high level, in terms of answering that question, you know, you don't need as long as you might think. What if the people that your content attracts doesn't match people who will pay for coaching? E.g., a lot of my following is gymnasts and gymnastics coaches because I'm a gymnast, and they do not have budgets for coaching if they think they need it, even though my posts aren't specifically gymnastics, only occasionally.
So this would be an issue of discoverability, but also like okay, this is just me personally, right? No one has to do this, but what I would do is I would go to Instagram and I'll delete all the posts I've got. I would just revamp everything and clear the whole page. You can still save those posts and post them again, but just start from fresh, grab like 5-6 different sets of hashtags that are associated with the people you want to coach, and just start from fresh. You know, like you'll still have the followers, but they won't come to your page. And what that will do with the algorithm is it will change who you attract. Maybe, because the algorithm always changes. I'm not an algorithmic expert. That's not what I do. But that's what I did that what was it, like last year, January. I just clicked not clicked, but like I refreshed the whole thing. So took off, like you'll see pictures of me when I had long hair and braids and a fat beard. That was like, I saved some of the old posts and I just started posting them again.
I would also say, I mean, this is for a longer conversation, but if I was coaching someone who had that conversation, there's a lots of, often when people say this group doesn't have the budget for coaching, I would challenge that. And we don't have time to go into that in detail, Becky, but you know, again, take this to your coach, speak to your coach about it, because sometimes there might be something that you're doing. So I found this. I was like, when I was beginning, well, no one's got the budget for coaching. And then a couple of years later, the same people would pay me for coaching. And sometimes it's the way you're showing up. It's the way you're engaging with people. A lot of people, you know, will be willing to pay more the more impacted they are, right? Then the other side to it is, if you have got an audience who cannot pay for one-on-one coaching, again, Steve mentioned this on the last webinar we did, you can do group programs where you can charge a lower fee and have a number of people on the same program. You know, as the very horrible saying, there are many ways to skin a cat, very horrible saying, but that's the kind of point. There's loads of ways to approach this. we've kind of going way over. We'll try and get through as many as we can. We keep getting questions. I just want to say, Sachin has created a PDF document where he talks more about his strategy and what he does. If anybody would like that PDF, please leave your email in the chat, or email me, ankush@ankushjain.co.uk, and we'll send you the PDF where we'll give you, and that's absolutely free. We'll send you more information about what he does specifically on Instagram and how he uses social media. And also we'll send you some details of a paid program we're going to be doing over several weeks, where we'll talk people through in a lot more detail, because obviously we've got a limited amount of time today. We're trying to get through as much as we can, but obviously if you really want us to help you more, we need more time to do that. Okay. James is saying, do you engage in conversation within the original post, or do you slide into their DMs?
I prefer not to slide. I'll go with the slither. It's a lot more fun. You can be a lot more creative with the slither. But yeah, I would do both. Why not?
What is your experience of posting the same post on Facebook and Instagram? Sounds like you two stick with one or the other.
Yeah, don't. Okay, my personal preference: respect the platform. Like put some respect on its name. And if anyone's young, they'll get that reference. Yeah, you gotta respect the platform, man. Like you wouldn't post a 3-second video on YouTube, but you might post it on Instagram. So I would always go with respect the platform. They're very different. Instagram's like instantly consumable, whereas Facebook, I want to catch up with my world.
Yeah, 100% agree. You know, tailor your content to your audience and to the platform. 100% agree with that. Arlene says, Ankush, you're funny. Thank you.
You had to read that one, didn't you, bro? You had to.
I'm skipping all the ones that are saying nice things about you, Sachin. I'm just going to the ones about me. Pre says, do you need to be a qualified coach to become a business or life coach? Is this what clients ask or look for?
Dude, like I did my course back in 2017, and by the end of it, I coached so many people that developed my own style. So when I submitted my recording for the supervision to say, do I pass or not? They were like, this is no longer our style, so you wouldn't pass, you wouldn't get the qualification. I was like, cool, whatever. Like, no one has, okay, no, sorry. One person in the last 3 years has asked me for a piece of paper to ask if I'm qualified. But dude, like your experience that you deliver, that's your qualification. You know, like that's as simple as I can put it. The answer is no.
Okay, and I would say one thing. So I would say you don't need qualifications. Again, I've probably had 1 or 2 people in 8 years asking me if I'm qualified. But I will say something, and something I see in myself, something I see in you, Sachin. People who are really great coaches, who are professional coaches, it's not about the qualifications, but they invest a lot of time, money, and energy in their own personal growth. And Sachin, I see you do that. I know I do it. I know my coach does it. And again, this is something that helps people really stand out. So if you think, oh, I don't need any qualifications, great, I'm going to start coaching and that's it, I think you're really going to struggle. So, you know, people do invest in books, they invest in trainings, they invest in getting coached. I've invested hundreds of thousands of pounds on my own training and development, of which a small percentage of that was for a formal qualification, right? So I want to make that kind of distinction. You don't need a qualification, but also, you know, I don't know any coach who hasn't invested in their own journey and their own growth. Janelle saying clients look for someone who can solve their problems. True. Good to see you, Janelle. Pre saying I'm still very new to this and thinking about becoming a I think private coach to get started, or part-time coach to get started. I'm great with conversation. However, I've done 2-day foundation with certain life coaching academies, but what frameworks can I use or learn from?
2 books, Prosperous Coach, Super Coach. And I would start off with those. If I was doing this all over again, personally, I would just start off with those. And just the most important thing, which I say to a lot of new coaches, get your conversations in, just start practicing. And you don't need to charge to do that. Just practice coach, build up your skills, build up your hours. When you feel the difference, like confidence is not a prerequisite, it's a result. So once you get the result of confidence in your ability to coach people, then yeah, have at it. Go mad on like charging for sessions. But in the beginning, it's really important to just get the experience.
Cool. So I think we're getting to the point where some people leave. So Kunika said she has to go. She enjoyed it. Alfredo got a lot from this. Good night. Okay. And then we're getting a load of emails. So we'll send people the PDF. Let me just go through. People have to go. Right.
Yeah.
Kirsten said, would you use the same approach as explained over the last hour with LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, these are the main platforms that I would use because, again, one-on-one engagement.
Okay, wonderful. Coach training for me is personal growth to be a better coach. Joseph, Sachin, I am impressed. See, I'm going to read one nice one out for you.
Hey,
Good to see a coach coaching people, not coaching coaches, who is rich as a pirate king.
I don't get the Pirate King thing.
In that you're coaching everyone and you're making good money. Denise said, can you repeat the name of the 2 books you recommend, please?
I'll write them in. I'll do you one better than that, Denise. I will write them in the chat. The Prosperous Coach and Super Coach by Michael Neal. Oh, The Prosperous Coach is by
Steve Chandler and Rich Litvin, and Super Coach is by Michael Neal. There are a bunch of other books as well that I would recommend. Oh, Arlene's already commented below as well. Love this. Okay, loads of people have commented as well, and we've got some more emails. Okay, right. Thought you said a third one. Arlene said, I love Wealth Warrior. I think Wealth Warrior is an excellent book. It's, one of my top ones for coaches. Kirsten said, one more question. What is the value of having a group versus using a personal profile?
Oh, okay. In terms of Facebook, yeah. So a group is great because you can bring people in and create a community. You can do a lot with a group that you can't really do with a personal page. But I would encourage everyone to go with a group. Like, one thing I don't agree with is people requesting likes for their Facebook page. I don't know a single person who has requested a like for a Facebook page and then directly created income in their bank account as a result of that. It's a waste of time. Stop doing it, in my opinion.
And that's the same for YouTube and everything else.
Yeah, no one cares about liking the page or subscribing to your channel.
So Ehsan said, can you give us more details about the training you're offering?
Yes, indeed. Let me bring up the little thing. Can I share my screen? Host disabled attendee screen sharing. Well, excuse me.
Can you try it now?
Oh, I can indeed. All right, here we go. So the training that we're offering is, so we're going to create a Facebook group. We're going to do 6 weeks of Zoom training sessions, so 1 a week. And we're going to have 3 Q&A sessions in addition to that. So you got your training videos, which is specific how-tos, very in-depth mechanical nitty-gritty, whatever you want to call it. That's like the real in-depth how-to. Then you got 3 Q&A coaching sessions on top of that. Ankush and I are great teachers, but we're great coaches. So we want to bring coaching to this. And then, 2 world-class coaches to help you grow your business.
Stuart said, who are the 2 coaches? So just to be clear, that they're actually you and me, aren't they?
Indeed, yeah. In case that wasn't clear.
Yeah, there's no one else that we're bringing along. It's actually just Sachin and myself. Just to be clear.
Thanks for asking, Stuart. That clarifies that. So if you would like to do this, if you're in and you definitely want to do this, send an email to Ankush. That would probably be the best way to get a hold of him. There was going to be a link in the chat, but I should have taken this out. You know what? We're here right now. Let me just pretend you didn't see this. Let's work together.
These are not the droids you were looking for.
Exactly. Yeah. Now it doesn't. Now we can just pretend that it was always that way. So here's the price for the trainings, and we're going to start next week. I'm a big fan of start with the momentum being high. Look, this is the main thing that I think. I've been doing this for like 3 years, creating clients using social media since 2017. But nowadays, everyone's confined to their houses, unless they're breaking the law, which I don't condone. So why not use this as an opportunity to get in people's homes. You see, when someone lives in your phone, it's a very different relationship that you can have with them than if they're some concept that you haven't come across yet. So yeah, that's the info. I don't think I can post this in the chat, but I'm happy to leave it on the screen.
So Mark is saying, is there a prerequisite for the training in terms of how established our coaching practice is?
No, you can be a beginner and you can be a master coach. I mean, this is for everyone, everyone in between. You know, this is, if you just want to get started, this will help you to get conversations going with people who aren't your friends and family. And if you're a master coach and you just want to explore social media and start using it to create clients, this is definitely for you too, because you've already got great skill. So when you start having conversations with people, what I do, I just coach people in the DM, in the messaging feature. And that's what you do as a master coach anyway. Bring that to the platform.
Yeah. And I want to say that, you know, people who have been following me for a long time know I very rarely do stuff with other coaches. There's a reason why I've asked Sachin to do this with me, because I think he's a very genuine guy. He's walking his talk, and he, you know, he's got something to share, and I'm looking forward to learning from him. As we do this, you know, just as much as I'm looking to sharing with you guys. So we're going to start, I think the first webinar is in a couple of weeks time, but for people who sign up, we're going to do a bonus webinar next week just to get going, like you say, getting the momentum going. We don't know if we're going to do it again. We have no idea what the feedback's going to be on it, but if you're interested, let us know. I'm really, really excited to do it. And like you say, Sachin, I think this is a really great time to be doing this at the moment, because there is, you know, people can't go out. So people are going to be spending more time on Instagram. People are going to be spending more time on Facebook. And I know that a lot of coaches at the moment are concerned about their business, like, oh, this is the wrong time, and, you know, people might not work with you. Well, I think one, people can create clients now more than ever. But even if we imagine that no one's going to hire a coach until this whole coronavirus thing blows over, and so no one's going to hire you for the next 6 weeks or 2 months, well, this is a time when you can practice stuff on social media. We've all got a bit more time now, I'm assuming. So this is stuff when you can try stuff out. Like Sachin said, don't wait till you're perfect, just try it out. And so if you do that, whenever this does blow over, because it will blow over, then at that point you are in a much better position for people to hire you. And I've also spoken to a couple of people who've said to me, you know what, we've got more money now than we had before. So a lot of people are thinking, oh, no one's spending money, no one's hiring coaches. But actually, there are a lot of people who are saving money because they're not spending money on petrol or diesel. They're not taking their car out. They're not going shopping. They're not, you know, buying, you know, other stuff that they might buy. And they're actually finding that they're not going on holidays. They've got more disposable income right now. And so this doesn't need to be a time which is really negative for coaching, and no one's hiring a coach. So, but you don't know until you offer your services and see, and you don't have to make anyone work with you. No one has to hire you. But if you don't ask and you don't make yourself available, then certainly no one's going to hire you.
Yeah, man, definitely. And something I would add to that is, yeah, I have way more money because I'm not going to restaurants. I'm not traipsing up and down the country to meet my friends and do extravagant things. I'm not going out of the country. And I had this, I had a funny conversation with my coach about that. It's just stories, you know, whatever's going on outside, you can create a story around it. But coaching is never a luxury, in my opinion. There's some people who say, oh no, it's a luxury. I would say now it's more essential than ever. In hard times is where this stuff is the most powerful.
So thank you for that, Sachin. There's so much more that we could have spoken about. I think we only got to my first question and we didn't even finish it. I'm looking forward to going and doing this training with you. We're going to cover loads more. And thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been really, really fun for me. I hope it's been fun for you guys.
Absolutely, man. Thank you again for having me, man. Yeah, it was great fun.
All right.